This is how anyone, and I mean literally anyone, can hit Masters in Season 23 of Apex. Now, this season is going to be the best way and honestly the easiest season to hit Masters. So without any more yapping, let's get right to the video. Before I start off with the first tip, this gameplay scene in the background here is where I dropped 4,500 damage in, pred lobbies. So just like sit back and relax, and maybe you can learn something off just even watching my gameplay itself. So my first tip is going to be to use at least 2 support legends on your team. Now in the most recent update, they actually buffed like Mirage and Loba like crazy. I'm pretty sure Mirage, you can like be invis or like be cloaked while you're healing, and that like there's a timer that's like every 5 seconds that you can get cloaked and heal, which is really broken because you can easily pop a bat in the open and not even get hit for like anything. And Loba is honestly really insane as well. She has 2 bracelets now, so her bracelets allow her to like get in and out of fights and really like get out of fights when you need to, which is really important because a lot of times when you go neg, it's either because you get third partied and you just can't run away, or your teammates both die and you kind of have to try to get out and you get chased and die. But now you can literally get out of any fight using Loba. She has 2 bracelets, and after you pop the bracelet, you can instantly pull out your weapon, which is something that you couldn't do before the update. You can even get like double time, like bangs double time after the Loba Q, after you throw it, if you do choose the blue perk that allows you to do that. It's honestly just like really broken. And now that Mirage got an update to his perks where you're able to I'm pretty sure you can use any beacon. You can use the scan beacon that only recon characters can do, or you can even hit like the zone I forgot what they're called, but like the shit that you can see to look at the next zone. You can read that as well using Mirage, which basically means you don't have to use a recon character at all, which used to be the case in the previous seasons because the beacon was extremely broken and you would have to either run Pathfinder or Blood. But now that Pathfinder did also get nerfed a lot, like his grapple's like every 30 seconds now, which really sucks. Path is not in the meta. Bloodhound is also like terrible, which just means you're gonna need a Mirage on your team. And Loba is also gonna be really broken because you can use her ultimate as soon as you get down on the map. So after the drop ship, drop at a POI, place your Loba market in the middle of the POI, and you can literally get like any gun you want for like instantly for free. And that's gonna help you to win a lot of off-drop fights, which is gonna be, my second tip. Now, whether it be that you're plat watching this video, you're diamond, or you're even gold, right? It's really essential to know that fighting is so important to be good at. Your team needs to be a good fighting team. Now, this season, right, it prioritizes KP more than placement, which means that you need to be actively engaging in fights and winning fights. Now, support legends is obviously going to help you to do that, but you need to be aware of when to fight and how to fight, which is why scanning the recon beacons is so essential to know where people are at, so that you can know what fights to take, what fights to not take, what fights to third party, how to rotate around the map. It's honestly just such an important like tool that you can use to gain RP and get that placement as well as KP, which is going to be so essential, which is why you have to run Mirage. Mirage is so important. And honestly, just being the aggressor in fights is really important. Being in full control of the fight, by being the aggressor, by being able to take several angles and, having different ways to attack the team is gonna be so important. I think a really underrated thing about good players and bad players is confidence. Being confident in fights and being confident in your team to be able to win fights is really important, because when you're the one that's getting aped, when you're the one that's getting angled out, it really brings the other team's confidence down a lot. And when you are able to bring the opponent's confidence down, they are going to play differently. They're going to play in a very different way than they usually do, which is going to give you the upper hand in fights, which is why I just think that aping teams and getting KP is so important, because it's going to help you improve your gun skill, which is obviously going to help you in the long run to gain RP. And secondly, just getting a lot of KP is going to be really important in this rank system and just in general. You know, when you have KP, your initial neg goes down, which is you want to prevent like initial negs as much as possible, which is why getting KP early on is really important and getting KP in the mid game is important. But I think that as you go to the end game and as the ring gets smaller, you need to be more careful about what teams you're gonna push. Only push teams that you really need to push to rotate, and don't brain dead 8 teams when the zone is small, because when the zone is small, people can hear you fight. People can hear you fight, and it gives them an easy third party, especially if like you're right next to them when you're fighting. So just be careful at the end game who you fight. But other than that, in the mid game and in the early game, I think you should be able to aggress a lot of fights and take a lot of fights, because that's going to improve your gun skill and help you avoid initial negs. And another tip that may be really obvious to a lot of people is please do not solo queue. Don't put your RP on luck. Like when you solo queue, you're basically putting your RP on luck, because you know it's either you get really lucky and you get good teammates, or you get like horrible teammates that are literally trolling you. And as a Pred player, I cannot solo queue Pred lobbies. I can even barely solo queue Diamond lobbies, because the way that I want to play and get KP is so much different to a lot of these randoms. And a lot of these randoms want to, you know, a lot of them play scared in my opinion. They play scared, they want to get a few KP, rat it out, and like, you know, gain like small RPs like plus 50s and plus 100s to try to gain. I feel like that's a really, really bad way to game, because I think the games where you gain the most RP is the games where you're aping a lot of teams and you have a lot of KP. When you're playing scared like that, number one, as I said, you're not being the aggressor in fights. You're not aggressing fights, and that just gives you the lower hand, which is not good. And I think just 3 stacking is so much easier and less like stress-free. It's just so much more stress-free, because you know you don't have randoms that are doing stuff you don't want them to be doing, and you have just more communication in 3v3s, which is going to be really, really important. And you might be asking, how do I find teammates? How do I, you know, 3 stack? I want a 3 stack, but I have no friends. Don't worry, there are so many Discord servers that you can use to find LFGs, to find people to play with. You can even join my community server to find people to play with. You can go on Twitter, on TikTok. There are just so many ways to find people to play with. And honestly, if you're solo queuing and you're saying you don't have a team, that's cope. Because, you know, it's not the game's fault that you're solo queuing and you're going against 3 stacks. That's just the way the game works. So don't blame your randoms, because blame yourself, because you have the ability to 3 stack. And honestly, 3 stacking is better, and we all know it. So make sure that you have friends that, you know what they're doing. Even share this video with them if they don't, so that they can really lock in and you guys can gain some RP. My 4th tip is making sure that you're using like meta legend comps and meta guns. So as I've said in my first tip, you know, support characters are really, really good. So I would recommend 2 support players. Like I would say Gibby Lifeline's good, Lifeline Newcastle is good, Mirage, Newcastle Mirage, so anything with just any support character, honestly. But make sure you have Mirage, or you have a Res Legend. So make sure you have Lifeline, Newcastle, or you have Mirage. And I think the 3rd legend to combine with those 2 support characters, I think it can be anything. You can play Bang. I like playing Bang a lot, because you're able to clear out a lot of angles with her smoke. And when you can clear out angles, you can single opponents out, and you can just single people out, and you can just ape them with your team, obviously if you're communicating with your team. The Bang ult's really good for getting rid of third parties, or even attacking teams that have high ground. I think Horizon is still a really, really strong fighting character, and if you can use her ult well and her Q well, you can really have the advantage in fights. I think also Octane is really good. If you're confident in your mechanical aim, like if you're confident in your ability to be able to do damage in fights, Octane can be really, really good if you choose the right perks. I honestly think choosing the stim perks for both blue and purple is really, really good, because if you do choose that, that means you're going to have old Octane stim. You're going to have an Octane stim that only does 10 damage to you. And when you do that, you're going to be able to literally like, you're going to be able to use your stim whenever you want in fights, and that's going to be really important, because number one, you can have a way faster strafe when you're taking 1v1s, and by having a way faster strafe, you're going to be able to hit the enemy more than they hit you, so you're just going to be able to be even stronger in fights. And I honestly think Octane is just really good for rotations as well. Being able to run to POIs to quickly loot, being able to run to fights to third party is so important. And when your stim barely does any damage to you, you can keep on doing that. The game is just going to be way more fast-paced, which is why I think Octane is also really strong. I still think that Rev is good. I think Rev is still good. I think his ult is still viable. His Q is still strong. But I think using Bang Horizon Rev is honestly the best. I think Shotguns is also really good right now, which I'm going to be talking about in my last tip. But yeah, using Maggie could also work too. Now on what guns to use in this meta, honestly, Shotguns is really, really good, which is why Gibby and Newcastle are strong right now. Shotguns are insane, especially with the new PK, where the choke, you can choke your PK really fast, which means that you can hit like people from like mid-range with a decent amount of damage with the choke. And the Mastiff is also the best it's ever been, 90 damage if you can hit the full pump, and it's honestly really good on double fights too. The Eva is also good as hell. Honestly, the Eva might be the best shotgun for like bubble fighting characters like Gibby, Newcastle, or Lifeline. I think the Eva is really good on Horizon, doing a little bit of Horizon movement while shooting the Eva. And the Mozams, I wouldn't really recommend the Mozams. They're not too good right now. But any shotgun other than the Mozams can be used effectively. For mid-range weapons, I would say the Hemlock is still good. The L-Star is insane right now. The L-Star might be one of the best guns because it can cover all ranges if you can learn the recoil of the L-Star. You can use it mid-range, long-range, close range because it's an LMG, right? Its hipfire is really strong. So you can use an L-Star, the Nemesis, the Volt. Honestly, right now, you can use a lot of guns. You can even use SMGs. Even though shotguns are strong right now, SMGs is still something that you can use if you can use them well. And I think that just being able to use meta guns is going to give you the upper hand in fights, and being good with those guns, being good with those meta guns is going to be important. If you're really good with a certain gun, I would just say stick to that gun and honestly use it as much as you can. Like, if you're better with the Nemesis than you are with the L-Star, don't try to use the L-Star just because it's meta. If you can do more damage with the Nemesis, choose the Nemesis. You know, choose guns and use guns that you're good at, and that's gonna help you out. Because, you know, some people hate the Hemlock, some people hate the Flatline. Don't be forced to use a gun that you don't like just because it's meta. You know, use the gun that you can do the best with, because it's ultimately your RP and it's your game. How you're gonna play that game is based on how you play it. So, you know, don't be forced to use guns and even legends you don't like. But just because you don't like a legend doesn't mean you can't learn it. And, you know, just because you have a lot of kills on Fuse doesn't mean you should use Fuse. Like, obviously Fuse can be used well, but, you know, characters like Lifeline and Mirage are so good right now that it might even be bad if you're not using those characters. So just keep that in mind when you're playing ranked. And lastly, I know it's a pretty generic tip, but don't be scared of losing RP. When you're scared of losing RP, you're gonna be in that mindset where you're like, oh my god, I just lost 50 RP, or I just lost 300 RP, and your whole mind's gonna be thinking, I need to make that 300 RP back, I need to make it back and make it back, and that's gonna subconsciously like make you play different, make you play more scared, you know, make you take less fights that you might need to. So it's okay. People have days where they lose 500 RP, 1000 RP. I'm pretty sure I've lost like 2000 RP in one session before, and I gained it all back in the next like few days. So don't be scared about your RP, because I know you can gain it back, and even if you like can't gain it back, then that just shows your true skill. You know, I'd rather be like hard stuck in Diamond, but at least taking a lot of fights, and being in Masters and not taking any fights, having 0 KP and like playing scared. Like, I would much rather be confident taking fights than not, and just care about like a little bit of RP. You know, so don't be scared to take negs. Be confident in your fighting ability, be confident in your team, and that's honestly how you're going to be able to hit Masters. I think right now, it's really easy to rank up. The matchmaking is not too good right now, and you're going to be facing a lot of people that are below you in rank. So use that to your advantage, and hopefully my tips can help you guys out. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'm replying to every single comment, so hopefully these tips can help you, and hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next one.